Peace if it's peace. Today we go on Black Nationalism 101. Martin Delaney, Marcus Garvey, Malcolm X, Black Panther Party, Malcolm X Society, Republic of New Africa, New Black Panther Party, Black for Black. It's peace if it's peace. Let's examine the files, my lord. Yeah, once again it's on. Black Nationalism 101. You gotta start with the father of Black Nationalism, Martin Delaney, my lord. Let's examine the files. The file to be examined, Martin R. Delaney, The Beginnings of Black Nationalism by Victor Orman, Beacon Press, Boston, my lord. This he proposed in his appendix entitled A Project for an Expedition of Adventure to the Eastern Coast of Africa, which followed the chapters exploring all other parts of the world as a site for black refuge and republicanism. Note, they not talking about republicanism like Republicans versus Democrats. They talking about republicanism as forming a government that reflects the views of the people, my lord. Delaney was revealed that he reached the concept in 1836 when he was 24 years old. If so, he was discussing a black Israel long before the birth of the founder of Jewish Zionism. His proposal for a black Israel was published 46 years before the great Theodor Herzl wrote Der Judenstaat. 46 years before the great Theodor Herzl wrote Der Judenstaat. Their reasoning was almost identical. Now, it is important to note the background of Martin Delaney. Martin Delaney was not born a slave. He was born a free man, my lord. Let's examine the files. There was no ghetto in Charlestown in 1812, possibly because there were only 11 free Negro households in the whole village. They lived scattered among the whites, and the children played together while young. Martin played with the children of Samuel Offwood, the white baker, and with the Avis boys, son of the copper, William Avis. One of them, John, was later John Brown's kindly jailer in Charlestown. When the neighborhood children began to grow old enough for school, there began the separation of blacks and whites, which was to endure for life. In all the so-called free states, as well as in old Virginia, while black and white children were too young to understand their parents, their relationships were natural and uncomplicated. But that fateful day when their children companions got all dressed up for school left the black children with their first bitter lesson. They had no schools to go to. They were black, and he still wanted a nation, my lord. Martin's mother, Patty, was a tigress with 5 cubs who was known around Charlestown as an uppity negress who did not appreciate the tolerance of the whites in allowing her to live free. According to a law passed in 1806, a Negro could either be sent to slavery if he committed a crime or exiled from the state for committing a small crime. Patty committed a major crime. Surreptitiously, that's a word, my lord. She taught her children to read and write. From an enterprising Yankee peddler, she bought a copy of the New York Primer and Spelling Book, which was a basic bootlegging. Item among all blacks through the South, my lord. Item among blacks all through the South. The crime of educating Negroes, slave or free, was comparatively new legislation in the slave states at that time. In 1818, the cotton gin was only 25 years old, and the broad reaches of West Florida were just being settled to form the... Now let's go to Martin's words. Every people should be the originators of their own designs, the projector of their own schemes and creators of the events that lead to their destiny, the consummation of their desires. We have native hearts and virtues just as other nations, which in their pristine purity are noble, potent, and worthy of example. We are a nation within a nation, as are the Poles in Russia, the Hungarians in Austria, the Welsh, Irish, and Scots in the British dominions. But we have been by our oppressors despoiled of our purity and corrupted in our native characteristics, so that we have inherited their vices and but a few of their virtues, leaving us in character really a broken people. Being distinguished by complexion, we are still singled out, although having merged in the habits and customs of our oppressor, as a distinct nation of people, as the Poles, Hungarians, Irish, and others. We still retain their native peculiarities of language, habits, and other various traits. The claims of no people, according to an established policy and uses, are respected by any nation until they are presented in a national capacity. My Lord, Martin Delaney, the father of black nationalism. That's how long we've been seeking a nation. Yeah, you got to realize it's a determined idea. We will get there. Think nation. It's going to happen, man. Now, from Delaney, as far as black nationalism goes, where does it go after that? To Marcus Garvey. the great one. And if you diss Marcus, then you must bite the dust. Equal rights and justice, boy. 1914. Let's examine the files. I asked, Marcus Garvey speaking, where's the black man's government? Where's his king and his kingdom? Where's his president, his country, and his ambassador, his army, his navy, his men of big affairs? I could not find them. And then I declared I would help make them. Do you hear what he's speaking about? He's speaking about the four functions of a nation: government, military, territory, sovereignty. You got to have all that to actually be a country, a nation of yourself. My Lord, independence. Let's further examine the files. I arrived July 15, 1914. The Universal Negro Improvement Association and African Communities Imperial League was founded and organized 5 days after my arrival with a program of uniting all the Negro peoples of the world into one great body to establish a country and government absolutely of their own. My Lord. So Black Nationalism 101. So far, we got Martin Delany in 1836. Marcus Garvey starting his org in 1914. Let's continue. Now, it is important to note that Martin Delany, he was trying to start a nation in Africa for African Americans. Marcus Garvey was trying to start a nation in Africa for all black people. You got to be clear of them distinctions. The next institute of black nationalism, the next org of black nationalism that was trying to implement that plan, Elijah Muhammad and the Nation of Islam, who was speaking about African Americans, black Americans, who we call the lost found, forming their own independent nation here or elsewhere. Let's examine the files. Now, anybody that's versed in the teachings of Nation of Islam, they would say, why did he put the 1922 date there when Elijah didn't start teaching till the 30s? And I'll explain that later. But Allah came to us from the holy city of Mecca, Arabia, in 1930. He used the name Wallace D. Farad, often signing it W.D. Farad in the third year, 1933. He signed his name W.F. Muhammad, which stands for Wallace Farad Muhammad. He came alone. He began teaching us the knowledge of ourselves, of God, of the devil, of the measurement of Earth, of other planets, and the civilization of some of the planets other than Earth. My Lord. Now, if y'all was to say, yeah, he started in the 30s, you would be right. But this is the reason I put the 22 date, because we talking about a determined idea. I recall in 1922 or 23 when the debate was taking place in Congress concerning appropriation of funds for Howard University, a school set aside to train my people, in the nation's capital. A senator said this, and it is in the records to be examined. In effect, what would be the need of the government appropriating money to educate Negroes? He said that they would not teach our people the science of modern warfare, defense, birth control, or chemistry. He knew these were the things free people must know in order to be protected, preserved, and advance themselves. We have not been able to protect, preserve, or advance ourselves. This shows the slave master has been very successful in dominating us with an education beneficial to him. There's a saying among us, mother may have, father may have, but God blesses the child who has his own. It is time we had our own. What is our own? A black independent nation. Let's further examine the file. Program and position. I ain't make none of this up. We want our people in America. Point number 4. We want our people in America whose parents or grandparents were descendants from slaves to be allowed to establish a separate state or territory of their own, either on this continent or elsewhere. Elsewhere would be Africa. I have the video of saying his first choice would be Africa. Don't play with me. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to provide such land and that the area must be fertile and minerally rich. We believe that our former slave masters are obligated to maintain and supply our needs in this separate territory for the next 20 or 25 years until we are able to produce and supply our own needs. My Lord, that is reparations. And the beginning is nationhood. Yeah, the program and position. Stop playing. We need a nation. Okay, so now you asking after Martin Delany, Marcus Garvey, Elijah Muhammad, and the Nation of Islam, where does this black nationalism thing go? Black nationalism 101. Malcolm X gets out of jail in 1952. He becomes a member of the Nation of Islam. He leaves the nation in 1964, starting the Organization of African American Unity, another black nationalist organization. And this is how we get the rest of these orgs. Let's examine the files, my lord. Because after 1964 with the Black Panther Party, who were black nationalists, check their 10-point program, it's going to allude to black Americans getting land. Then they move toward communism and Marxism, how you get the, what do they call it, the Rainbow Coalition? Yeah, we ain't with none of that. We with nationhood. Then we get the Malcolm X Society, started by the Obadiah brothers, who were also originators in Republic of New Africa. Let's examine the files. The file to be examined, my lord, free the land, the Republic of New Africa and the pursuit of a black nation state, Edward Onasi, my lord, peace to the brother. Taking their cue from Brother Amari, scholars William Van der Berg and Raymond L. Hall credit Malcolm X, Malik Shabazz with pushing the Henry brothers to accept territorial black nationalism as the most practical option for liberation. Milton met and developed a relationship with the minister, and the Henry brothers used gold to sponsor 3 lectures for him where he visited the model city. In addition to his message to the grassroots, Malcolm X delivered the Ballad of the Bullet in his last message in Detroit. After Shabazz's death, Milton and Richard changed their names to Gadi and Amari Abu Bakari Obadali, respectively, and created the Malcolm X Society, which they charged with working towards Shabazz's unmet goals for territory and revolution. The Obadalis believed the minister's primary concern was to create a sovereign black nation that would help Third World revolutionaries destroy global oppression, my lord. And it further says, by 1964, the Obadalis had evolved into territorial nationalists with revolutionary goals. When they created the Malcolm X Society in 1967, they initially saw it as an apparatus to work within the governmental framework and state structure of the United States. Winning black people first in Mississippi to the cause of independent land and power, followed with election victories, the sheriff offices particularly, within the U.S. federal system, and finally taking the black state out of the U.S. federal union at the moment when white power could no longer be successfully resisted or neutralized in its efforts to prevent the creation of a new society. In the black state. The Malcolm X Society aspirations became evident through its calls for black people to secure control over their own communities in the aftermath of the 1967 rebellion. It further goes along to say the National Black Government Convention and creation of the PGRNA, my lord, Republic of New Africa. New Africans argue that the New African Independence Movement is the broad-based struggle seeking an independent black nation state in the Black Belt region of the United States. Although they trace their movement's birth to the 1968 Detroit Convention, former PGRNA official Chokwe Lumumba indicates that its roots go back to the mid-17th century when the European settlers began racializing enslaved Africans with legislation that passed the mother status to her children, naturalizing matrilineal enslavement. He indicates that the enslaved often liberated themselves and attempted to create their own maroon communities at time with indigenous nations. Not that we were the indigenous nations, clear distinction with the indigenous nations, my lord. I'm going to go on to say that same era marked the inauguration of the African blood. Matter of fact, I'm going to just read the whole thing. According to Lumumba, the foundation of this long-standing movement grew stronger when black immigrationists in the United States, such as Paul Cuffey, Henry Highland Garnett, and Martin Delany, my lord, Martin Delany, you hear the name, sought land in Africa and elsewhere. It continued in the 20th century with Marcus Garvey and the Universal Negro Improvement Association, who estimated 2 million members, took up the call of Africa for the Africans. That saying was actually instituted by Martin Delany, but whatever. That same era marked the inauguration of the African Blood Brotherhood, which supported the institution of an independent black state in the southern portion of the United States. Although it is estimated To have included between 5,000 and 8,000 adherents at its height, the small organization influenced the Communist Party to accept and promote the idea of black sovereignty, something y'all not doing right now. A maneuver that increased black support of the CP tremendously. The CP adopted the Black Belt thesis, which identified a portion of southern states, several southern states, in which black people were entitled to self-determination. Similar to the map that I have. I just added Texas and a few other slave states. Lumumba claims that although the CP eventually dropped the idea, communists, and lost much of its black backing, several former black communists and Garveyites, including Queen Mother Audley Moore, continued promoting territorial autonomy independently and through the NOI, the Nation of Islam. In fact, Lumumba and Muhammad Ahmed both credit Queen Mother Moore for influencing Malcolm X and Elijah Muhammad to take up the struggle for independent land. Malcolm X and Queen Mother Moore were largely responsible for making the notion of an independent black nation palatable to the activists who founded the PGRNA, taking up and revising the Black Belt Nation argument. The Malcolmites sought to liberate 5 southern states, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, and South Carolina. The South was the region where the majority of the enslaved Africans and their descendants resided. Further, as enslaved laborers and then sharecroppers, Africans built on and tilled the earth in those states, thus helping Anglo-Americans prosper. Therefore, according to the Malcolmites, the 5 aforementioned states represented African Americans' historical homeland in the United States. The Malcolmites presented these and other ideas at the National Black Government Convention held in Detroit on March 30th through 31st, 1968. My Lord. The participants, who are black nationalists ready now for separation, observers, black people who are genuinely interested in separation as a possible solution to all problems in America, technical advisors. The last group of invites including black people, whether nationalists or not, who have something to offer the new government and its founding efforts, such as lawyers, scientists, economists, and industrialists. My Lord. The conversations held during the convention demonstrated such people's importance. Talks centered on international human rights law, reparations, women's equal participation, and military strategy. Yeah, that's what you do when you trying to build a nation. We gonna get there, my Lord. Yeah, that captive black nation. So what do we have so far? We got the father of black nationalism, Martin Delany. Yeah, came up with his 1836, my Lord. We got Marcus Garvey, who started 1914, Universal Negro Improvement Association, my Lord. From there we got Elijah Muhammad, who taught Malcolm X, who then, not directly, but they did learn from him the Black Panther Party. He directly taught the Obadiah brothers, who started the Malcolm X Society, and they, with others, started the Republic of New Africa. That's what they started. The latest installment in black nationalism. Khaled meets new Black Panthers. The next day, we formally met the new Black Panther Party for self-defense, Malik Shabazz speaking. The new Black Panther Party was founded in 1989 in Dallas, Texas by Aaron Michaels. The early actions of the new Black Panthers prior to June 1994 consisted of many local community activities, including armed demonstrations to bring about changes in the school board. Earlier news reports claimed that the new Black Panther Party had established themselves largely by protesting what they saw as lack of blacks on the school board, the Dallas School Board, and among the district's top administrators. The group had disturbed several board meetings by making demands and refusing to yield the floor. The new Black Panther Party's platform was based on a desire. So we went from Martin Delany in 1836 to the new Black Panther Party in 1989, and we still don't have an independent nation for ourselves, which leads to black for black, my Lord. Let's examine the files. Black for Black is a black nationalist, pan-African political organization for independence. You gotta be both. Designed by and for black people in America and abroad. Our goal is a well-functioning, independent black nation in one unified Africa. We are not a racist organization. We are for freedom for all people. However, we do place top priority on the situation that blacks in America and Africa currently face. We understand that when black people are free in America and unified in Africa, the world will truly begin to be free and just. We vow to put an end to white supremacy and usher in true independence for black in America and help to bring into fruition one Africa through media, politics, protests, art, and any other avenues that may be deemed necessary, my lord. Black for black. Yeah, my lord, you ain't never thought about it like that. You see that? Nationalism. Peep the similarities, my lord. It's our time now. Look at how Malcolm looking at y'all. Yeah, we space age, baby. And we will get a nation, either here or in Africa, my lord. We gonna get there. It's peace if it's peace. Black Nationalism 101. Learn it and love it. My lord. So it's peace if it's peace, even though it ain't no peace, that we get us a well-functioning nation. That's where we at. Black for black. Black Nationalism 101 started with Martin Delaney, and now we here, my lord. Black for black. The new regime. Because like the great ancestor Kwame Ture said, Stokely Carmichael, he said, if you can't join an organization that's already in existence, hey, start one. My lord, it's peace if it's peace.